Friday, April 7th, 2023, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Yes, there has been a lot of talk about de-dollarization, and I've been covering that quite a bit. Today, though, I want to talk about the alternative to the dollar. And in my opinion, it's not a new Bretton Woods or any system for that matter. For me, the alternative is honest money, honest weights and measures, or sound money. And that's what we're going to cover briefly today. The markets are shut for Good Friday. Yeah, and before I start, I'd like to wish all of you who observe Good Friday a happy Good Friday, happy Easter. And before I start as well, just wanted to talk about my experience when I was a little boy back in Brazil during Easter. Well, we all used to go to my grandfather's house for lunch on Sunday. And we were, at the time when I was young, we were 8 grandchildren. It increased afterwards, but I always remember that I had a cousin that was 10 years older than me. She was the oldest of all the children. And my granddad used to give her the biggest Easter egg. And I, being the youngest at the time, used to get a little one. And I used to get, well, I was kind of upset about that. But of course, I understand now, being an adult, why someone 16 or 17 should get a bigger egg than someone who's 6 or 7. But my granddad, actually, he probably not helped, but for some reason I became, how can I say, interested in money, because probably in one of those Easter lunches or any other lunches, we always used to go very regularly, the whole family, for Sunday lunch there. He used to call me over to the head of the table, because the kids used to eat at a separate table than the adults. And he'd make me sit next to him, and he'd give me a little bit of what at the time I thought was money. So maybe it was one of these or one Cruzeiro at the time. But I remember one time he gave me one of these, and he just gave it to me, like told me to be quiet, not tell anyone else. So that was my granddad, and he kind of didn't make me love money. That's not what money is all about. And that's why I want to talk about a book today, talking about a BRICS major reserve currency or a new Bretton Woods system. I don't think those will work, because if you understand what money is, you can't let government be in charge of the money, or you can't let any central authority, even without a central bank, you can't let a treasury be in charge of money. The people and the free market need to be in charge of money. There should be no legal tender laws. People should, in a free society, in a free market, they should be able to use whatever they want as money. And it's interesting that I think it was 1862, during the Civil War in the U.S., they passed legal tender laws. And I think it's really important to get rid of legal tender laws, get rid of a central bank, and let people use whatever they want. It could be Bitcoin. There's a lot of you out there who get not annoyed. I don't know if you get annoyed, but I don't really, that's not my cup of tea. I prefer gold and silver. Little did I know when my granddad gave me one of these that this was actually not money. This was just a representation of really, in Brazil, for example, of these. This is a Brazilian gold coin from the 1850s. And this is a silver coin from the 19th century Brazil as well. But by, I don't know, 1970, 71, when I probably got one of these, this was long gone. Yes, we had coins, but they were copper nickel. So The book I'm going to recommend today, and you understand why, honest weights and measures are really important. And this book will also take you through how money evolved. It does it goes back in time to see how things started, how we went from hunter gathering to bartering, and then to finding the most marketable commodity. And what does that mean? Well, it's something that everyone really desires and wants, and that's what money is. Simply, what has government done to our money? And the case for 100% gold dollar by Murray and Rothbard. You can probably find a free PDF online through the Mises Institute website. I'm going to put a link to it below in the description. You could also buy it from the Mises Institute, this book. And what does it say here? Let us first ask ourselves the question, can money be organized under the freedom principle? Can we have a free market in money as well as in other goods and services? What would be the shape of such a market, and what are the effects of various governmental controls? If we favor the free market in other directions, if we wish to eliminate government invasion of person and property, we have no more important task than to explore the ways and means of a free market in money. So there you go. Yeah, Bitcoin might become used, and it is already used, I have to admit, and so is gold, still used, even though the powers that be have demonetized it for transactions amongst individuals. Recently, someone I interviewed, Marco Babic from Arkansas, he actually sold some of his beef. He's got a farm in Arkansas. So 200 pounds of beef for 1 troy ounce of gold. And it was one of you guys who follows me who contacted him from Oklahoma and drove all the way to get 200 pounds of beef in exchange for a Krugerrand. Yeah, and people ask, oh, how can we exchange gold long distance? Well, there you go. You just travel. And system. I don't think systems work. And the reason why systems don't work, especially systems imposed by authority, by government, well, because there's the old saying by Lord Acton that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And you might say, oh, Mario, we live in a democracy and America's a republic. We've got the Constitution. But I'm sorry to say, governments and politicians, they always find an emergency, some kind of crisis to basically make an exception. I mean, you just have to look back at the Napoleonic Wars here in the UK. After it was finished, they said, well, you know, we had a really bad emergency for 20 years, these wars. We spend a lot of money. We're going to have to institute an income tax, but it will just be temporary. Same thing in 1933. The excuse was that the banking system was collapsing and people were taking their real money out of the bank. So FDR said in his fireside chat, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. We need to do this for the greater good, and you got to hand in your money. We're gonna shut the banks. So, emergency, right? Wars, pandemics we've seen in the last few years. So you might be thinking, what are you talking about then? How do you really think we're going to go into an honest money, free market system where people use whatever they want as money? Well, yeah, it does seem dire right now. There's a lot of talk of this system of digital currency or CBDC. But if we don't keep telling people about the alternatives and what we can really have, there's no hope. And that's why I'm here, to keep plugging away And yes, is a free market system perfect? Is sound money, gold or silver or even Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever cryptocurrency you want to use, is that perfect? No. But nothing is perfect in life. You get ups and downs, and without fluctuations, a market system doesn't work, because prices are basically decided by human action, as von Mises talks about. And if you try to control everything from a center, you destroy the market and you create what they're trying to create, which is really a globalist controlled system by the bankers, by one central bank. So that's my message for today. Even if the BRICS start their own system and it might be better than the current system, I wouldn't buy into it. That would be the beginning of the end of the system, because as we know, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And you can bet even the countries that are in the BRICS are going to use emergencies, the political class. They always do it. And that's why there's the old saying in the gold bug community, be your own central bank. It was Jim Sinclair, actually, who first brought that out. He noted that Bretton Woods didn't work. Why didn't it work? Well, because it gave power to one country. It wasn't really a gold standard. It gave power to the United States. Yes, the dollar was backed by gold, but all the other currencies weren't. And the U.S. was in charge, so much in charge that President Nixon and the people behind him ripped the Bretton Woods agreement on August 15th, 1971. So have we had a system or not? Have we not had a system before? Yes, I would argue that prior to World War I, yes, there was a gold standard, and we had silver as well, but there was no agreement really. People just countries, nations just use gold and silver. Unfortunately, they did issue paper currency in those countries, like Britain, France, and Germany. They had the major reserve currencies prior to World War I, but it wasn't like they sat down, let's say in 1870 at Versailles and created a system. So yeah, that's the way I see it. Whether it works or not, some of you seem to think that there is a system that has been created already. But what I would say to that, I wouldn't trust it. So the other message for Easter for me is family. I think that's important, family and community. Because if you are in a like-minded community, be it like where you live or the people that you know and associate yourself with, like here on this channel and other channels, you can exchange. You can exchange these, right? We don't have to be forced to use anything really. And that's the thing, and that's the way I think things are going. I could be wrong. So today, of course, the markets are shut. I think they reopen on Monday in the US and Canada. I think they'll be closed in the UK. They are going to publish a non-farm payroll today, which is interesting, on Good Friday, despite the fact that the markets are shut. We'll keep an eye on that. And I just saw some comments from JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon, and this goes to show how power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. That one man seems to think that he can save things. And we know that JP Morgan has paid over $50 billion in fines in the last 20 years. So this is what he said here, according to Breaking Market News. 5 hours ago. JP Morgan CEO on the debt ceiling. As long as I am alive, the U.S. will not default. Oh, really, Jamie? So you see what I mean? We this is not a system. Always leads to this. That one man will have the arrogance to come out and say such a thing. The other thing he said, which I think you might be interested in, I believe we are nearing the end of the banking crisis. So there you go. I wouldn't trust that either. I would not be keeping a cent more than I need at the bank, especially at JP Morgan Chase. So there you go. Yeah, Rudy's been a very good boy today. We've been out for a walk. It's a nice sunny day. So there you go. With that, I'm going to wish you all a very good weekend. For those of you who observe it, a very good Easter. Take care. Bye.